If you've ever apologized for your dog by saying something like, he's fine once he gets settled, your pet might need some help with learning manners. And help is here in this latest edition of Pet Talk. Nebraska Humane Society pet behavior specialist Cathy Guinane returns. Hi, Cathy.
Good morning.
We've got a beautiful dog here.
This is Jason.
Yeah, tell us his story.
Jason's a greyhound mix. He's from the track. He's about 7, so he's done and obviously not running anymore. He's a lovely boy. He was sitting back watching TV and just laid down on the floor, greeted everybody who came down the hall, be a great walking partner. Probably not so good for running because he's getting up there a little bit, but he loved walking, walks nicely on a leash, rode beautifully in the car.
Their temperament is awesome, isn't it?
It
I mean,
is.
these dogs are so gentle and loving.
They're very, yep.
Are there any required, because I think about my brother and sister-in-law, they adopted a greyhound once, and she was, I mean, everybody loved Jordan. But in terms of like medical needs, do greyhounds have anything special that's worth knowing about as they do get older?
They can. I mean, they have very thin skin, so you always have to be careful if they would get hurt. Sometimes it takes wounds. It's harder for the wound to heal because there's not as much extra skin to pull together type thing. So you have to be a little bit careful about some of those things.
And what about, since they were at the track and they were, you know, they're so active, their joints take a beating early on in life. Is there any of that comes back later?
It always can. There's always arthritis that could hit with anybody, any dog.
Yeah.
But if you keep them exercised and, you know, work with them.
Just like a normal dog.
There you go.
Nothing special.
No, not really.
Okay, so Jason has been at the shelter for a little bit of time now. They would love for him to see him get a great home, and adoptions will open up here today.
He's done. Now he'll watch.
Let's just chill.
Yep, this is what he does.
Adoptions open up at noon, but you can go early. Volunteers will be at the desk where you can fill out an application. So sometimes when dogs melt your heart the way Jason is, there can be a little bit of a line. So if you want to go, we always encourage you to go early. I don't get the feeling that Jason's jumping up on guests.
No.
He seems pretty chill.
He's
but
pretty chill.
A lot of dogs do have that issue.
They do. They love to greet people by jumping up. So we have to teach them how not to do that.
Okay,
It's
so
okay
what
if they do it with
what
other
do we
dogs.
do? What's the first step?
First, you have to teach them that their 4 feet on the floor gets them something. Whether you have treats in your hand down low or you put treats on the floor. Why jump if there's no good reason to jump? Then you can go from there. Do you want your dog to sit when they greet people, or do you want them to lie down when they greet people? Kind of depends. Sometimes with great big dogs, you might want them with little kids to lie down. You know, some little dogs, it's hard because when they sit, it's way far down for someone to pet them. You know, you can always teach them they have to sit and wait, and then maybe you can point to your leg, pat your leg, and they can put a paw there so they're easier to reach and balance. It makes a difference. You just have to kind of decide what works in your world, because we all have different people. Some of us have little kids, some of us have older people, some have handicapped people. So it just kind of depends. But we always start with 4 feet on the floor.
And rewarding the good behavior, because when they jump up on you, if you're petting them and all, right, that almost feels like a reward,
It is
depending on how you're
absolutely a
reacting.
reward. Yes. Shoving them away, it's kind of like game on, let's play.
Oh yeah.
You know?
So having treats there at the door, something when they're doing what you'd prefer.
Right.
And then you say don't wait for a mistake, show good behavior. But how do you correct mistakes if they aren't doing it? Does that question make sense?
It does, but if you see the dog coming at you and you know that they're probably thinking about jumping, if you have something down low first, so they have no reason to jump, you kind of ward it off. You interrupt the behavior before it actually happens. Show them what really works. Practice when they're not, oh my gosh, company's at the door. Practice lots of other times so you can kind of get through to their brain, as opposed to waiting until they're so excited that you just can't.
Well, ours starts before he even sees guests at the door. It's with the doorbell, and then it's just like game on, and he's running around in circles and barking, and it's like he's worked up before he even sees anybody.
Right. And you can change where you want them to be, where you want him to be when the doorbell rings, and make that a really cool spot. What does he get when he's there? And then start practicing. Hit the doorbell, he has to go to the spot. Hit the doorbell, he goes to the spot. Hit the doorbell, he gets a cookie. Just something different. So it's like the doorbell's not just company. The doorbell means, oh, I get something else.
Okay.
So you just drop his adrenaline a little bit.
Some people might be able to handle this on their own. Others are going to need a class, and you've got those at the shelter.
We are glad to help, from basics to on the fun with Fidos. We'll work on all of it.
Okay, there's information online about their classes, and they're constantly adding new ones to the schedule. So maybe you've done the foundational stuff, and now you're ready to move up, especially with warmer weather. I know you do some things out on the town, for example. So all of that we'll send you to anyhumanesociety.org. You'll also learn about the kitten shower online. What's that event like?
Well, we're having a kitten shower online, and basically people can go to the Facebook page and pledge to what they want to get for the kittens, because in the spring we have kittens and kittens and kittens and kittens, and they take a lot. And lots of them in foster care, so that helps the foster parents out.
During this virtual shower, give us an example of a few of the items you're asking for.
Towels, food, all kinds of, anything you think about with a kitten, they're going to need it.
And then there's one other topic that I think is important to discuss, since this is the Ides of March.
Yes.
Also known as
Licensing
March 15th,
Day.
and the deadline for pet licensing in the city of Omaha.
It is.
So there's still, you can still get in on it. It's
Yes,
not like
you
you're
can.
late today. So
No.
how can our viewers take care of it if they need to?
If they've done it before, if they've licensed before, they can always do it online. They can, mailing it in's a little late, but if it's postmarked, it'd probably be okay. But they can come to the shelter. We have all kinds of people waiting to take their licensing and pay for it.
What are the consequences? I mean, I always think it's important to understand what happens if you don't stay on top of this. So what are the consequences? There's a fine.
There's a fine.
But then what else? Like if your dog runs away or what? I mean, because that's what you hear from some people.
Right.
It begets a number of headaches.
You can get cited, which puts a citation on your record, and you don't want your dog to have a bunch of those in a year because you could end up losing your animals. I think it's 3 in a year. Have different kinds of citations that could be in trouble. You could lose animals.
I told our vet, 'cause that's where I did it, was at our vet's office when we took action in for his rabies shot. And I said, oh, I got to get that licensing. I don't want to get put on some kind of list. I know people at the Humane Society. She was like, I don't think they're putting you on a list per se. And I said, oh, I can't have Cathy knowing I didn't get my stuff in time. So again, you're looking at Jason. He was at a track when he was younger. He's about 7 years old. He's been at the Nebraska Humane Society for a little bit of time now, but they wanted to bring him on our show to really put him on a pedestal so you could all get a good look at him and see what he's like. He has been terrific to everyone he's met here today. Adoptions will open up at noon, go at 11:30. Get your paperwork done if you want to bring him home. And again, the website to learn more about all things Humane Society, it's nehumanesociety.org. Thank you so much, Cathy. It's great to see you.
Great to see you.
You know, Poison